times, bad friends.
Welcome back to another episode of Good Times, Bad Friends. All right, before we get into today's conversation, we've got to explain what just happened. Because we tried to pull off a little prank. We told Alex we were bringing on a returning guest, someone he already knew, someone that's been on the podcast before, and we were going to ease into a normal episode. But instead, when the camera came on, it was his brother, Chris. I wish you could have seen his reaction. It was hilarious. He was stunned. It was shocked. It was perfectly executed. But then we had some technical issues that lost the moment, which hurts the podcast and it hurts my heart because I planned this elaborate prank and it's all for nothing. It honestly set the tone for what ended up being a really cool conversation because after the laughs and the chaos, we got into Chris's story. And it's one I think a lot of people can relate to. Chris grew up in Georgia. He went to Stephen F. Austin State University and now works for one of the largest beverage companies in the world, leading teams, working major events like the Final Four and the World Cup. But more than that, this is a conversation about perspective, about how your priorities change, about what actually matters, and how things like family, faith, and responsibility reshape the way you see your life. So even though the prank didn't fully go as planned, the conversation did. If you enjoy real, honest conversations like this, make sure you're following the show, subscribed on YouTube, and share this with someone who needs it. So, Chris, welcome to the episode.
Dude, thanks for being
my
on,
brother?
man. So we're always like, yeah, dude, what?
Alex, it's your brother.
Surprise! So, like, y'all growing up in Georgia, and you probably talked about this on the last podcast, but obviously that was 2 years ago. How do you navigate all the way up to the Midwest? Oh, and just like that, ladies and gentlemen, next week on Good Times, Bad Friends, surprise again, Alex. We're getting into a freaking conspiracy campfire. Hey, let's talk about it. Chris will get back on. We can make this right. Can we talk about something that happened recently, boys? I want to get y'all's take on this.
Let's go.
Alex, you're up. Which I didn't know this, so we need to talk about a little bit of a precursor. There was a crew. Tech got on a ship, and what's the song? They were leaving on a jet plane. I don't know when I'll be back, if we ever went in the first place. But anyway, back in 1969, we took a trip to the moon. 2026, when we are less advanced for some reason, it's the only part of technology that hasn't advanced the last 55 years. You know, look at the phone or anything like that. And with 1/1,000th the computing power of an iPhone, we allegedly went and landed on the moon, drove around. Anyway, 2026. All we did was shoot a bunch of non-really astronauts. One of them being an actor in a sci-fi fictional movie about international or space travel. By the way, one of them was One of them was an actor in what was it, like the Fury Road
right now in your argument.
One of them was an actor in some kind of like crazy movie or whatever, and then just turned into an astronaut all of a sudden. Alex, what do you think about how in 2026 we took a little trip around the moon? What'd you think about that?
You said you did research.
I did, actually. So I listened to the podcast with Bart Sabrell. You listen to that one on Joe Rogan?
You're up.
Yeah, Alex, come on. Tell me about it.
I have not done that. I was Googling, why is the moon landing fake, as I got on, because I thought we were getting on a
Google knows.
conspiracy campfire, which we very much are not. Yes, I think that we really did, but if we didn't, I think I would want actors to be the people that we faked it with.
You think we went to the moon originally?
Yes.
Really? You think so? Okay, no, for real. Let's stay here. Like, lay out, because I think the burden of proof is on the people that actually believe that, with so many things that are just so, and I can lay a couple things out for you, but like what is your initial reasoning of like, oh, we went there for sure? Like, what is the concrete evidence in your mind?
I think first, why are there all these, like there's, okay, we're back.
We're back.
Keep going.
Okay, Chris, hang on.
Okay.
We're diving into a conversation about the moon landing.
Are you good over there, Fred Flintstone?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm on my phone now. I got off Elena's computer. I'm on my phone, so we are fully functional.
I love it. Well, just sit back because we're in a very interesting conversation right now. So, Alex, take it away, and this is going to take a turn right now.
Yes. The reason that I think that it is real, one, people died in pursuit of this thing, and I don't think they would like make up these stories and these families and these people that ultimately died in pursuit of going to the moon. two, those people have like family members and things, and then there's all of these like campuses and buildings and thousands of people that work for NASA. And so, what are all these people like working for and doing if it wasn't to go to the moon?
Now you're asking the right questions.
Hey, great points, by the way. Actually, to be precise, 400,000 people worked on the project, which is good. That helps out the point the other way, but it's okay. Continue.
A lot of people.
It is. Is that it?
They called the moon with a landline.
Yeah. Okay. So wait. Go back to your points, right? A lot of people died in pursuit of going to the moon. Are you talking about the Challenger and Columbia that were, 20 to 25 years after this? So I'm talking specifically in the 60s. Think about all the stuff that's going on. We killed the sitting president, the CIA. That's obviously been declassified for a long time. We faked our way to get into a war. And to me, I'm looking at it, and I know, Colin, don't be a jerk. You know you're on the side of me. Now we have the chance for a net positive lie to be able to basically socially destroy communism. And instead of trying to risk people actually dying in the process and then looking really stupid, and then they get the upper hand, all we have to do is fake it and make it look like we are more technologically advanced than they are. So is that what you're talking about? Like the Challenger and the Columbia that blew up, and the Challenger was in the 80s and then Columbia was in 2003?
And you think no one that's involved in this project is ever going to say a word? It's going to say...
Okay, and there you go. Okay, so I love that point. Beautiful point. 400,000 people worked on the Empire Project, right? And you can look this up. This is verified documentation. The guy in the command center, the best thing about it is he was basically looking at a screen that just looked like a giant sonar screen. You weren't seeing actual live video feed of the astronauts in the capsule or anything like that. So he said in his own words that what I'm watching, I can't tell the difference. Nobody can tell the difference between a test flight, a fish in the water, or a spacecraft going to space. So you're right. You can compartmentalize the whole thing and you can fund it. You can play it. You have all this dirty money. We just had Iran-Contra. We're sending 30 to 50 to $100 million to be able to fight all these wars, try to overthrow the Cuban government. We were doing all these covert operations. We were going to crash an American plane that we made that created jobs, by the way, which about 5,000 jobs you can create to build that, $100 million plane that we were going to crash, blame on Cuba, and then get ourselves into a war. So for the military industrial complex, absolutely. The more jobs we create, the better. So for those 400,000 people, they're working tirelessly. We're able to pour money into something. We're basically able to wash all this illegal money that we have into, you're right. I built the thrusters. I'm super proud of it. I built the capsule. I make sure it's filled with oxygen so that the astronauts don't die, blah, blah, blah. Like I'm an American hero. I come on my passion, everything.
He's ready to debate you.
And then all of a sudden you watch it take off and this culmination of all these people that feel like they had a hand in the moon landing. And even in the command center, they can't tell whether it's a test flight, a fish swimming through the ocean, or an actual flight going to the moon. So actually, those people wouldn't necessarily be in on it because, yes, they may have watched something take off or something happen, but they don't know for sure that there was someone in that capsule being flown to the moon, if that makes sense. So really, you don't have to have anybody in on it. They just did their part. You shoot the thing.
But there's people that actually walked on the moon. So what about those people?
100%. So when Buzz Aldrin come back and he couldn't put his hand on the Bible and said they went to the moon, he got mad at every single person, and they have yet to do a single interview about it to this day. What does that tell you about the authenticity of those guys believing that they went to space? No interviews, no documentaries, nothing made about it.
I'm going to lead us back to
Come
Chris.
on.
Okay.
Chris, Carter, go back. We're going back.
I'm going to segue us. What I think, and I'm probably the best person to talk about this other than Alex's wife who works at NASA. I think the best thing that we saw was like what we saw on TV, not we weren't there, was a studio. Like we are not going to show ourselves blowing up in real time when we're in a space race against the rest of the world. So I think we may have sent a rocket to space. I think all these things that happened, but what we visually saw on the TV was filmed elsewhere, is my thinking. And we also sent Katy Perry to space like 2 years ago. So like this isn't really that big of a deal anymore. If you believe that Katy Perry went to space, you probably think the moon landing's real. But anyway, yeah. So Chris, you grew up in Georgia, and now
perfect segue.
You are all out Pittsburgh sports. I'm slowly getting you on board to becoming a Dallas Cowboys fan. But where did that transition come from? From I'm a Georgia boy to I'm a Pittsburgh fan to I live in the great state of Texas.
In regards to like my fandom or just the journey of moving from Georgia to Texas?
No, straight fandom, sports related. Like what made you stick on the Pittsburgh Steelers?
There was just no option growing up. It's like it was, even though we were born, or I was raised in Georgia, like you grew up when I was 2 years old, I was wearing a full Steelers uniform. I was going to Pirates games when they came to town. Like it was just how we were raised. There was no other option. And my brother knows this story well, but he walked into the room one time when the Steelers were playing the Raiders, and he said he was young. He was probably, I don't know, 4 years old or however old it was, but he was young. And he said, "Oh, I want the Raiders to win because I like their uniforms." And my dad immediately told him, "Get out the room and don't come back in here until like you're cheering for the right team." Like there was no like, oh, ha 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 ha. Like it was Steelers or nothing. It's just
Or
how we
get
were
out of the
raised.
room.
Yeah, basically get out of
It
the
was
house.
real.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I ended up in the backyard.
Dang.
Dang, it's a tough house, dude. We should probably call somebody.
Yeah, dude.
Chris, another like story from when we were younger is there's a lot of infamous stories of you as a young baseball prodigy in your times of swinging the bat or maybe not swinging the bat. And what is something in like early childhood that you learned from baseball that you carried on with you?
One thing I learned from early years in baseball was to not be scared after you get hurt. You got to get back in there and swing the bat again. I didn't learn the lesson at first. My very first year of baseball, my first plate appearance, I get pegged in the back, and it was one of those like real dramatic. I like fully arched my back, threw the bat on the ground, probably cried. And the rest of that
No,
season,
probably.
you weren't even like 1 year old. But in the rest of the season, I never swung the bat again, and I led the league in walks, but I never swung the bat. I had one hit that would just happen to be on a bunt. But anyways, that just taught me, even though you get hit and you're scared to stand in there, sometimes you just got to do it.
Listen, I'm just curious now because I kind of had a similar experience about that. And then, like you said, you led the lead in walks. I mean, the fact you got on base, you're just being a good teammate. But like going back to kind of creating a little bit of a sibling rivalry. Outside of that, who was kind of the top dog in the house when it came to sports? Wait, because I know last time we were focusing on video games, but like now we're moving in the real world. We're throwing
Yeah.
some backdoor sliders. Like who's got the upper hand?
For sure, me. There's no doubt about it. But I'm also 5 years older. So I think like I'm reaching the age where Alex is probably starting to catch me, maybe pass me a little bit, like just in athleticism, because he's in his prime and I'm, you know, 35.
Going downhill.
I'm on the
So,
way out of my
if we
prime.
took this to have a combine right now between the
that'd
two
be
of you,
awesome.
different events, different activities, you think that you still get the upper hand right now?
No, no, no. In a combine, Alex will beat me. Alex is more physically gifted, but where I win is I'm more
He's more
mentally
technical.
gifted.
Okay, so we'll go like 40-yard dash,
Agreed on that
chess
front. If
match.
we line up 1v1,
And then yeah.
Yeah. If we're just doing combine drills, Alex is gonna smack me. If I'm having to do a shuttle drill and all kind of other stuff, like I'm losing that. But if you put us on like a pickleball court where there's like some mental aspect, I'm pretty sure I'm winning that. If you put us on a football field, like we probably go head to head there. Like I have whatever edge Alex has on me physically, I have the same edge on him in game sense, we'll call it.
I think
So
we
do you
need
feel
to
like
host the first Good Times Bad Friends Olympics. We come up
Dude.
with the sports activities.
That'd
It
be
could be
awesome.
pickleball. It could be route running. It could be Madden. It could be all of these different activities that accumulate points to find out who the best athlete is.
Do it.
Dude,
Invite
that'd be
all the
awesome.
guests.
Yes, all the guests for a Good Times Bad Friends Open. Oh
That'd be all
my
the
gosh, that'd be
countries.
awesome. Yes, everybody put a name or everybody put an event in a hat, and then we'll just pick out like 6 events, and that's what we're going to do the entire time. That way, there's not much of a bias. But if you pick out 6 events you're really good at, then it could be a sweep. If we go combine drills, Alex is going to be running a 4.4 and all of that. Okay, so I was having this conversation with. There's a couple sets of twins in our football program right now. And well, I say twins. They're a little bit older than each other. I always kind of notice that the younger one generally tends to be a little bit more physically gifted, and the older one tends to have kind of that mental edge. Is that something? So my theory is that the younger one is always trying to chase the older one, what he squats, how he runs, how he thinks, all kind of stuff like that. So he tries to chase the physical side a little bit more than the mental side. So did y'all see that growing up at all? Like what were you able to teach Alex and Alex? What were you kind of chasing towards trying to catch up to Chris in?
Hmm. I could see that for sure. I mean, I think me growing up being the firstborn, like I didn't have anybody to play outside with or to run around with or like to get that kind of stuff in. Alex had me, but being the oldest, I didn't have anybody to learn from, so it all had to come from my own head. So I never thought about it like that or noticed it, I guess, but that does make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I've never thought about it in that way either, but similarly, it does make a lot of sense. And one thing that we did too when we were growing up, this I guess kind of helped us like maybe both a little bit. When we would go outside and play against other people in the neighborhood, we would like create plays ahead of time. So I was learning from him on like, how do we make these plays? We had code words and stuff. We made like it was pig, pork, and piranha would tell you like how long of a route to run. So the longer the
Yeah.
word, the longer the route, and then I think
It's
we
how
had
Dang.
deep.
numbers or something.
Yeah. We had numbers that aligned with routes, and then the length of the word that followed it was how deep you needed to run the route. So when we got into the street, nobody was on our
It
on
was
our
over.
level.
Y'all had like a John Gruden playbook just to go play outside in the street. They're like, wow, these guys are taking it way too serious. Spot two wide banana, let's go. Piranha.
So sports was a big part of like your childhood. When you went, so you ended up at Stephen F. Austin in Nacogdoches. Did you jump into intramurals and stuff when you got there? I know you were in some big organizations that we'll get into, but like, did you do the intramural in college?
I did. I played with Manila. That was the our little intramural softball team with the vanilla wafers on it. And then I played a lot of intramurals with Student Activities Association. But yeah, it was mainly softball. I played flag football with SAA, but we were not a very athletic group. And when I am the most athletic one out there, we're not, that's not a good place to be. So we didn't do very well. But softball, we did really well.
Yeah, that's what Colin has a lot. So tell me the story because I always like Axum Jacks, am I right? This is where I kind of get lost out on like all these inside stories or whatever. So tell a story of how kind of this whole group got together. Like how'd y'all meet? Because I know Colin was big in the intramurals too. Like he was like the Michael Jordan of intramural volleyball. Like he was always sending us pictures and they won every single championship and he was playing every sport. Like he was pretty much undefeated. Like how tell me the origin story of like how all y'all kind of got together and met and then like where that came about.
I actually didn't know Colin in college. We met
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
after
know that.
just through playing video games with Alex. And then now we've been playing video games for like, I don't know, years now at this point. We've been playing video games together and
Pre-COVID, like 7
in a
years.
group chat, which is
Gotcha.
crazy in this day and age that you can like meet somebody digitally through video games.
Yeah.
But like just another example of this happening, Alex and I were in a Madden league some years ago, 6, 7 years ago. And we played online. Yeah, we played online with these same guys in these few different leagues. And I went to Vegas or to Arizona. And we got stranded out there because we couldn't fly back into Houston because there was a big ice storm and all the airports were closed. And I guess I had mentioned it in this Madden group. And this guy that we play Madden with that lives in Vegas, it was like 2 hours away from where we were staying in Arizona, was like, man, y'all just come crash with us. Like it's cool, no problem. But it's weird how playing video games with somebody and not ever knowing them. And he'll still text me like randomly, probably once a year. He'll text me, just ask how I'm doing. But you like build a relationship with somebody off of that.
That's so wild. So we didn't really dive into this last time, but okay. So take us back into your story about how you get into SFA because I hear like everybody that goes there, they fall in love with the place. It seems just like it's like a bigger high school. You make a lot of connections and everything. There's a lot of traditions that everybody follow. I mean, it's kind of it's a place that everybody's very protective of. Like all the people that we've had on that have had that connection have always kind of been that way. So tell us a story about like how you got there. What did you think when you got there? What was kind of your journey going through SFA? Because I know we didn't focus a lot on this last time, and it just I like when people kind of talk about that because it's all there's always a lot of positive stories through SFA.
Yeah, I so SFA wasn't my first choice to go to for a school. My first choice was actually Texas State. Um, and I ended up going to SFA just because I got more scholarship money from them, and it just made more financial sense to go there. So I chose SFA. Went in 2000 and in 2009, fall 2009, and then SFA is kind of like that middle ground of like we're not a tiny school of like 3,000 people, but we're not a big school like UT or A&M either. Um, and if you get involved and meet people, it's just a really awesome place to go to school. There's not a lot to do out there. Like in UT, there's just a ton of things to do in Austin, I'm sure. And so when you go to SFA, you have no choice but to just hang out with people and make friends. That's the only way that you really, pass the time and get by, other than joining organizations and of course, going to class and doing your schoolwork. But um, I think the fact that there's not much out there in Nacogdoches just helps that kind of homey feel, because all you have are the people that are there. There's really nothing else to do. So it just makes it a very welcoming place. And I think the people that go and then experience it and like fully allow themselves to get involved and then make those kind of relationships, it really just transforms it and becomes an experience for the people who do that you couldn't get probably at a larger school.
Yeah, I think that's true. And first, thank you for going to SFA, because that was the only place I ended up looking at, and that's the whole reason I went to SFA, was just because my big brother went to SFA. But obviously, it worked out, and it was a lot of fun. And I know while you were at SFA, you were super involved in SAA, orientation, fraternity, all those different things. What are some things that you learned from all your experiences as you reflect on what you did in college?
Man, I always think back on my involvement in organizations, and I truly like I feel like I learned more from my involvement in those organizations than I did from like the actual classes that I took, especially like real life skills, leadership skills. There's when you become like a leader in an organization, it's not like, being a leader with a large company now, but you're forced to lead meetings, to speak in front of groups, to keep things organized within the organization, create schedules and all those kind of things that once you go into a job, those are things that you do kind of on a daily basis. I use a little bit of my finance degree now just in basic like financial knowledge and reading P&Ls and understanding, net profit and margins and that kind of stuff, but that's really nothing in comparison to what I feel like I gained from being involved in student organizations, just from really the leadership side of what you get out of them.
Yeah, and so like I completely agree. I was involved in a couple organizations and took on leadership roles, and then joined a fraternity and like took on a leadership role there. And I think those things that I like gained skills there helped me more than I could like. I don't even remember what classes I took in college. I was there for a long time, and it was terrible. But like the just I think the communication skills, like how to talk to people from different backgrounds. I came from a predominantly white, not even school, like a town. And so like learning how to talk to people from different races, ethnicities, poverty levels, and then using that going forward like really helped me, I think, kind of in the career I'm in now. So fast forward, you're now in a role where you get to be part of some like really cool moments with the skills that you've learned from college. Yeah, so you had a lot of really cool things about like you're going to help with the Final Four. You're at a Drake concert. You're doing World Cup activities with your new organization. So talk about kind of where you work right now and the things that allow you to work in these really cool moments.
Yeah, so I currently work for Coca-Cola. I'm an area sales and merchandising manager. So I've got a team of about 70 people under me, both in sales and in merchandising. And been there 12 years, but it's been a blessing because Coke is involved in so many different things, and especially me being in Houston where a lot of these things are going on. I'm very lucky and blessed to be able to take part in a lot of them. So I got to attend the Final Four a couple of years ago when it was in Houston. We had seats right there behind the goal for all the Final Four games, and then for the final, which was just awesome, we had the floor seats at the Drake concert through his Sprite sponsorship. I got to do a lot of things that like I would not get to do if I wasn't working for Coca-Cola, and that's really just like in my mind the top few. There's been a lot more than that, but I'm really excited for the World Cup to be here, and we're like under 2 months now when the first game kicks off. So we've got 7 games in Houston. I was lucky enough to get selected to lead all of the Fan Fest activities here, so I'll be pretty swamped starting in June through July, but also a really cool opportunity to be involved and kind of get to be a part of FanFest in Houston, and what is probably the only World Cup in the United States in our lifetime. So really cool
Yeah.
opportunity.
Yeah, it's huge. So, like you being in charge of 70 people, I didn't know that you had that big of a team, but that's like That's a huge role. So how do you prepare that many people? What are the biggest? Because like it's kind of the same realm that me and Colin are kind of in or whatever, and then just obviously working around different people and different skill sets and ages and everything. What are some of the biggest challenges you have leading a team that big? And then what are some things that you kind of pride yourself on being able to do? And like how well does your team perform compared to other people in similar roles and everything? You know, where do you see your strengths at in that area?
Sure. So just to clarify, my direct team is four, but indirectly I have about 70. So each of my team of four manages a team of somewhere between 16 to 18, and then that adds up to the the 70 or so. Um, but I think for me, and one thing that we as a company have really like stressed over the past few years is just the belief that a more engaged team kind of drives results. And so we've had a shift in our company culture, from kind of like that hard edge kind of thought process to more like we're going to take care of our people, and because people are happy and they're engaged at work and they're glad to be here, that's going to produce the results that we want. And we've seen a lot of great results, not only like my team but as a company over the past few years with that kind of mindset. And I'm glad that we went that way, because I feel like that kind of leans into my leadership style a little bit. I'm very much more a people person than I am like just a hard ass. So that's been a really cool thing to see. But that's kind of my belief also, is that I think if I can make the environment for my team a place where like they enjoy coming to work, they don't wake up feeling like dread of having to come into work every single day, then that'll be beneficial on the back end. They'll be more willing to go the extra mile when the time comes. They'll be more engaged just in their daily work when it doesn't feel like it's dragging, and we can have a good time, but also take care of business also.
So I know from the outside, working at Coke seems really cool. Like, you're good at your job, and so you get to go on these like trips. You get to be involved in the World Cup and all these really cool activities. So from the outside, Coke kind of looks like the dream company maybe to work for, especially to a couple educators who we don't get trips and stuff. Something cool for us is like maybe an extra day off or something. Is it like, does it always feel like you're working at the dream place, or are there times where it's more challenging?
For sure, times when it's more challenging. I mean, the downside is that, like, I don't know if you have ever noticed, Alex, but like my work phone is always on me. There's no turning it off ever. Like even at the end of the day, if I get a call at 7:30, and I take the call at 7:30. If I get a call on Saturday at 4 o'clock, I take the call on Saturday at 4 o'clock. There's been plenty of times, like for example, when Houston had the boil water notice, and that happens on a weekend. Like we're scrambling around trying to figure out how do we get water to as many stores as possible. How do we make sure that every store gets their fair share of water. We don't want one store to take it all. And so that kind of stuff, like when it comes, I just have to be flexible. But by the same token, like that, to me, that's kind of the trade-off. I get to do a lot of really cool and unique things. I got to go to Turks and Caicos earlier this year. I've been to Cabo and all kinds of other things with work. So if that involves me having to be flexible a little bit with my time outside of work hours, to me that's a fair trade.
Yeah, no, I think it definitely does seem like a highlight reel. Whenever I'm like, "Oh, dude, let's play video games," he's like, "I can't. I'm going to Turks and Caicos." I'm like, "Okay, well, next week." He's like, "Well, I got to play in the World Cup," and I'm like, "Okay, well, then after that," he's like, "Well,
You're
I'm
like,
having
God,
another
dude, that
kid."
sounds so
So I'm
stressful.
like, "Okay,
Yeah.
cool. You hate me, cool." So I want to be respectful of your time because we told you we'd be off at 9:30 because we have big plans afterwards. But I don't want to skip over something that you mentioned in the pre-interview survey. So, like, living this highlight reel up to this point, you mentioned something in the survey that didn't go as planned, and we don't have to stay here forever, but like you talked about how you had a major life reset. So, what does a life reset actually look like in real time?
In real time, this was, I don't know how many years ago now, probably like 9 years ago. Now I went through a divorce, and that's not something that like is super I'm super proud of to talk about. I always grew up like, I'm one marriage and that's it, but shit happens. And so I was living in San Antonio at the time, got divorced, and just kind of forced me to evaluate, where I wanted to be in life. I had also applied for a couple of promotions at Coke and got told no for both of them. So there was just a lot of stuff like, man, what do I want to do next with my life. I didn't have anything in San Antonio other than my ex and her family, so there was no reason for me to really stay there. My family was in Houston. I met my current wife shortly after that. She was in Houston at the time. So I applied for a job in Houston with Coke. I got it. So I ended up moving to Houston. It was like a week after Harvey is when I started here um, with Coke. So everything was flooded. Everything was just like nuts. It was a really wild time to be moving
Dang,
into
yeah.
Houston. Um, but it's kind of forced me to reset my life and grow up. I'm a very risk averse person, and so to move cities with not a lot of money in the bank, have to get a U-Haul, pay for a new apartment deposit with this like looming divorce going on in the background was definitely something that was out of my comfort zone, but am super glad that I did and it worked out in every single way.
Yeah, we actually kind of talked about this recently, but in a different context. And you were talking about how, like, even though this situation really sucked, ultimately you're glad it happened because it is, it got you to where you are today. What is, like, just one of those big lessons that you learned from there, or besides the obvious things of like Elena and Christopher, how do you think that altered your life?
Oh man, it's a good question. I think probably the biggest thing that I learned from all that was more just like as a person. It was somebody I had dated since my very first semester in college. That was like really, that was all that I knew. There were a lot of things like as a man that I like turned my cheek to that I probably have shouldn't. And when everything happened, it just kind of, I don't know what clicked, but it forced me to like man up a little bit and just look myself in the mirror and like, hey, what do you want to do? Kind of get control and be confident in yourself. And I don't know why that happened after a divorce and everything like that, but it,
I remember you got into the best shape of your life, and I
man,
mean,
I was, yeah. If you would have asked me like 9 years ago who physically was in better shape, it for sure would have been me.
And that's crazy. So just like talking about like how me and Justin are like coaching these kids and like the way you like respond to adverse situations, and not to like toot your horn because like I can't speak from experience, but knowing that like you had a mindset of like there's two directions I can go from this moment. I can like choose to sulk or say woe is me, or like get my head on straight and figure out, okay, this happened, you can't fix the past, what does my future look like? And I think you did like just a heck of a job. I didn't know you at that time, but I know you now. And like you, every time we talk, you like both you and Alex, credit to y'all. Like y'all are just such big family people. I'm like, oh, let's do this. He's like, okay, well, no, there's my daughter's having her 14th quinceañera this morning, and I can't I can't hang out. But every time like something comes up on the weekend, you're like, okay, well, I got to spend time with like Elena or Karina, and I really respect that about you guys, especially not knowing that side of you of like how you had a family situation into where you are now. I think it's very commendable that you chose to like seek the positive, seek the future, and seek a better you that ultimately made you better for your family. So now that you're in this different phase, you said in your survey that the birth of your son is one of the most moments you're most proud of. Like, why is that? Coming for someone who doesn't have a kid.
Man, I can't explain it other than just like when you hear your kids cry, like that very first thing. There is like, when you get punched in the nose and like you don't want to cry, but you just do because you got hit in the nose.
Yeah.
It's almost like that. You don't want to cry. You're not intending to, but you hear the first cry of your child and like an emotion just comes over you that you can't control. And I get emotional now, like just listening to songs about fathers and sons, like things that never impacted me like do now that I have a kid. Finding Nemo was on earlier, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's a dad and his son, and the dad lost his son, and it just I don't know. There's a whole new level of you that is like opened whenever you have a child that wasn't there before, and there's no explanation for it. You didn't know it was there, and all of a sudden it exists after you have a child.
Well, it's this new level of love that you never thought you were capable of. Like obviously you have wife and those type of connections that you have, but when you have a kid, you feel a sense of like love and a sense of like I will do anything to protect this kid. So for me, I guess it deepened my understanding of like the story of the Bible of why God was so adamant that he wanted to be a father and send his only son and having to do all these things. Because when you have a kid, you understand the type of love and the type of sacrifice that takes to be able to protect someone like that. So for you, did that kind of bleed over into your faith a little bit, or what were some of the realizations that kind of maybe blended those two realms together after you had a kid, as far as the type of love that you felt, how much you wanted to protect, and just some parallels between those two things right there?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you hear the phrase like, I would die for my kids, and you don't understand it, and then you have a kid and you're like, absolutely, I would stand in front of a bullet right now for him. And not even like as a reaction, like somebody shooting, I would jump in front of him. Like if you said, "Hey, would you take a bullet for him?" Because one of you getting a bullet right now, I would say, "Yeah, let's do it." There's no question about it. I would say that the one part where I have an opportunity as a father so far is getting my kid to church. Like that's been a tough part for me. Just getting like the energy to go do it on the weekends. It's so tough, but that's been the one opportunity that I have as a father is getting him to church, getting our family to church so that we can get him baptized and make sure that he's, growing up in that environment.
Well, even like not even that's a good, like that's a great point to make, but it's kind of like in the coaching thing too. When you start to preach these things and you're like, well, if I'm going to tell my son what to do, then I better be modeling that twice as well as what I'm going to tell him to do it, or twice as much as I'm asking him to go or whatever. I better make sure that I'm walking 2 miles if I'm expecting him to walk one. So like were there any resets in your values, as far as like, because I mean it's true, you wake up and you're tired, but you're trying to preach to your kid like, we want to play outside, or we want to do this, or this is how we want to treat people, and then I've got such a short fuse because I'm tired, that now I look like a hypocrite to my son. So what were some of the resets in your core values that you had when you were trying to, like, when you would have that moments with your son where you're like, man, I want to get him to church, but I'm exhausted, I want to do this, but I don't feel this way, but yet I'm trying to instill those characteristics in him? Like what were some of the things you maybe had to reset in your core values as a person?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that I had to reset anything, but I would definitely say there's been like an effort to protect him from some of the outside exposure that is just in our culture right now. Like you don't realize all the things that are out there and on a TV and in media and in YouTube and just all of these things that he can get exposed to that like have to be really, really, really diligent about. And it's not even when he's at home, it's when he's at his babysitters and all just everywhere that he can see these kind of things. And he's still one, right? So he's not, I don't think, really picking any of that stuff up yet, but he will soon. And so me just having to reset, like, do I want to listen to a song that has a bunch of cuss words in it in front of him? Like he's starting to get to that age where that's something that I did before that I got to think about not doing now. I'm not a very patient driver on the road. Like if somebody cuts me off, I'm yelling in the car. That something I want to be doing in front of him?
They
Um,
will repeat only the bad words, it seems.
right. But for me, it's
Just the
not a
bad ones.
reset, but it's more like making sure that I'm emphasizing, like saying thank you all the time. Like he's very good already at saying thank you, making sure that we hold the door open for people, like just making sure that I model good behavior so that he can hopefully replicate those and not some of the other stuff that he'll inevitably see from other places.
You're doing an incredible job so far. I know he's only like 1.5, but he is super polite, always saying thank you. Yeah, he's already a great kid. And I know he has two amazing role models that he sees every single day.
Thank you.
When you look at Chris before having a son and then Chris after having a son, is there like a different like fire or motivation inside of you? Like, do you feel like a flip or switch flipped and you feel like, just a different motivation in all things, not just about being a parent?
Yeah, I think, we make time for the things that we want. And that's something that like I've really had to do after having a son. Because there's just such few moments of time left like to myself. But I would also say like it's more important now at work that I'm successful. It's more important that things are taken care of around the house. There's definitely like been a switch flipped and like I hated doing chores before I had a kid. And now like I just have to out of survival, like getting bottles ready, getting his diaper bag ready, doing all this extra stuff. I think that's where like the switch flipped for me is that like there's just a lot of stuff to take care of around the house than there was before, and so you have no choice but you just go into autopilot sometimes just to get the stuff done. And that's not a very deep answer, but that's
No, it's true because like everything and kind of bleeds into today's society, but I think everybody wants to have everything that they want. And I think we just live in such a selfish society. And then you realize how the world really works and what we're really here to do when you have kids and you have a wife. And it's like, oh, no, like I don't get to do what I want to do anymore. I have to make sure that I'm, training my 1 year old to be a Pittsburgh fan and be let down almost just as much as a Cowboys fan pretty much all the time. So the fact of the matter is like you're always training someone to be your replacement. So you're endlessly on that pursuit of making sure that every one of the choices that my kids make were better than the choice I made when I was, 15 to 17 years old or anything like that, or making sure that I'm a better parent than I had or anything like that. You just want to make sure that the generation or everything that you leave the generation that you have with your kids is going to be better than what you had it. So I mean, I think that's the best answer you can give is I think a lot of people don't want to face that realization of life becomes so much more about everybody else around you and how you can impact them and so much less about yourself. So I mean, that's just something everybody's got to realize. It just matters how long it takes you to actually realize that in your life.
Yeah, I think the comment that you made about we live in a very selfish society and you have to teach your kids to be selfless is exactly spot on, because I think, in my opinion, like a lot of my pet peeves is people not putting the cart back in at the grocery store or people cutting you off. And I think the root of all those things is that somebody acted selfishly. And so if you can teach your kid to act selflessly, that he's not the most important person in the world. And we like to hear so much now, like, do you or do what makes you happy. But that's not really what life is about, I think. And so it's important for all of our kids to know that like they're not the center of the universe, and the real impact in their lives is living for others and being selfless, and that's where they really gain the most joy throughout their life.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you like were to condense the Bible of what it says is like one, love God, two, love others. And if you're loving God and you're loving others, you're putting them before yourself. And I think like that's kind of the overarching like what's wrong with society is we're so me and not we. We're crumbling and we need to go back to what we were. But I hate to be corny. I just like we didn't know each other in college, but I think you're like such a good dude and you are a good representation like for one of our group text because we have like these deep conversations out of nowhere, but they're also like meaningful. Like there's so many dry conversations or so like transactional friendships that are happening in the world. And I think that like when you find like good people in your life, it's really like important to hang on to them, especially when you play video games. So let's touch this topic for a little bit. Okay. We have been playing, like Alex said, since pre-COVID and just like we have a group text, we have all these games. Clearly, you're like the dude who's really good at the games. Alex is the real like smart one, and then I get to be there just to like ride your coattails. So I want to know, since we've started gaming, your favorite game that we've all played together. And then I want you to try to persuade Alex about how we can get better together with one financial decision that is in our future.
Have we really been playing since pre-COVID? We're going on 5 or 6 years.
Well,
6 at least, yeah.
That's crazy. I would have to say, like, number one game that we've played is like when Warzone first dropped. Nothing will
COVID
ever,
No
Warzone.
doubt.
yeah, nothing will ever touch that high. I remember like playing for a night where we went until like 6 a.m. and it didn't even feel like 6 a.m. Like when you're just that into the game. That's never been replicated. No other game has ever come close to like being able to just lose track of time like that. So that has my vote for sure. But we are trying to convince Alex to put his pride to the side because we're all gonna have to do that. Colin and I included. Let's
Correct.
hire a coach for Apex. Let's make one last run at glory. It's a $50 investment. We can't do this forever. Like we're reaching the point. I'm reaching the point for sure. Where like I'm gonna have to hang up the sticks for good. Like
Wait,
let's do
What?
it.
Wait, are you retiring?
No, but like I'm
Are you on a retirement
35.
tour?
At what age do you think it's unacceptable to still play video games? And I'm getting very close to it.
When you're dead.
Oh boy,
Let's
this
ask our
conversation took a
sponsor,
turn.
ChatGPT. Let me put it in real quick.
Yeah, that's
That might be the
another
biggest
thing you have
announcement
to.
you made tonight.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
That's another thing that you have to face. Unfortunately, it's like you grow out of these things. Now, one day it's like your kids will get back into it, and you're like, all right, let's go. Video game consoles back on. Let me show you how it's really done. And you just get to beat them 97-0 on Madden. But like you do face that realization of like your kid's going to be sitting there watching you. And it's like, do you want to be outside playing, throwing the ball around, having a lot of fun making those core memories, or like, are they going to be staring at a screen watching you play video games? Like you really do have to face that. Like that's such a crisis that a lot of people have to face because you have those great memories. Like, dude, I remember all these great memories, like pre-COVID, we're all in these groups, we're playing Warzone together. Like I love being a part of this group just as much as everybody else does. But like, you do kind of have to face that because I've been there with y'all for so long. Like, I just feel like I've been gaming with y'all ever since the beginning.
Well, you
So,
haven't.
but you
They're
really
like-
don't.
When people ask for
haven't.
my hobbies at work, I don't even say that I play video games because I'm embarrassed. I just say like I'm a Steelers fan, I hang out with the family, whatever. Like I can't be a leader at work and they're like, what does he like to do? He plays video games at night with
plays
his
Apex.
friends. Dude, like that's come on now.
I really regret asking this decision. Now I know that you are embarrassed of us. You're retiring. You don't want to play anymore. I asked our sponsor, ChatGPT, who's not really our sponsor. I said, how old is too old for video games? And it gave me some little, great question. And then it said, in fact, the average gamer is in their 30s, and most people play well into their 40s and 50s. So the better question is, and we will wrap up gaming, a better question is, am I too old? Am I too old? Is it still fun? 2, is it getting in the way of things that matter? Health, relationships, work, blah. Or is it actually helping you unwind, connect, or compete in a healthy way? If it's the
There it
last one,
is.
you're good.
Okay, fair enough.
You're in your
So
We're
prime.
back on, boys. I'm never quitting.
Back on. Yeah,
I'm
never mind.
never quitting.
Suck
All
it,
right.
family. I got some video games to play. You guys go to the store and kill some time.
Okay, to wrap up every episode, we have 2 big things. One is a rapid fire segment. We're going to go back and forth, and we just want quick answers. We have them all laid out. We want to know off the dome what your answer is. Then we'll have a signature question, and then we'll wrap it up. So Justin's going to start with our rapid fire, and then we're going to go.
Yeah. Should be an easy one because it's the team that's currently playing right now. Like, let's go, baby. Little hockey time. Best part of the year. But what's your favorite Pittsburgh team?
Steelers.
Boring.
Okay. All right, okay. Dream sporting event to attend.
Super Bowl. With the Steelers playing in it. That's the caveat.
That's so funny.
Drake concert or Final Four, which was better?
Drake.
Wow. One word to describe fatherhood.
Amazing.
Okay, one thing you wish more people understood about you.
Man.
All right, next.
Dude, slow.
He's a man.
God dang. Are you going next or no? That was a juke?
Your real answer?
No,
We're gonna answer.
No.
I thought you were really skipping. I was like, all right, I'll just answer the next one then.
Well, you
Thank
said
you,
man.
Bill.
I thought man was your answer.
No. One thing I wish people knew about me.
Yeah.
Was that the question?
Yes, sir. Yeah, this rapid fire is going great. One
Good job,
thing you
Colin.
wish
You
people
ruined it.
understood about you.
I wish they knew I was a man.
No, I'm just a man. I'm just a regular dude trying to hang out with my family and play video games and make money.
And you're a man.
What's your go-to way to reset after a long week?
Good question, Alex.
Video games.
Dude, you're already lying. You don't tell people that you play video games.
Yeah, dude, you already said you quit. Like you said that was the biggest decision you ever made in fatherhood was that you don't play with those dorks anymore in video games. Which is so funny because we did tell Alex on the back end to answer like the first 4 questions, and he answered it the exact same way that you said it. So that's something that we'll have to revisit right before we end or whatever. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received in your entire life?
That people are the most important part of the business.
It's good.
That extends beyond business, but that's just a general. People are the most important part of everything that we do.
I do
That's
love
good.
Coke.
Amen.
That's good. Coca-Cola. All right. So my last question is a signature question that we ask at the end of every podcast episode. And since you're an avid listener, I already know you don't even have to tell us. This is how we end each one. It's not rapid fire, but who are you following, reading, or listening to right now that's encouraging your walk with God?
Good Times, Bad Friends podcast.
Yeah.
Ah, what a name drop
Dude,
right there.
yes, yeah, they're really good at. Hey, if you've made it this far, Go
Hey.
like and subscribe to Good Times Bad Friends podcast. They're doing amazing things. They're doing really cool things.
Absolutely. I've heard great things about him. If you don't doubt that you're a man 100% biologically, then you should go follow Good Times Bad Friends. Well, Chris, if you made it this far, obviously you've seen Alex's reaction. You probably think that we should have spent a little bit more time on the moon landing and how it was completely, absolutely real, and everybody believes everything. Or the fact that the gang's going to get back together. We're going to go goop in here in a little bit, but Chris, appreciate you for coming on, man. Like, thanks for the surprise second visit. We're gonna have to make this happen again. We're gonna we have a little side bet going with how many times we can get you on and full Alex with some big time guests. So next week has just been announced. I just got the text Donald Trump will be on, and so can't wait to see him hang on.
And Jelly Roll, who is this Jelly Roll?
But he already said that he wants to wear a surprise shirt for the beginning of the podcast. So we'll have to kind of make that maybe a thing about our guests. But no, Chris, appreciate you, man. Thanks for the shout out and everything. And thanks for coming on and telling us your story and kind of expanding on some stuff that we didn't get to last time, man. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you having me.
No problem. What do you think about the moon landing before we go? Yes or no? Did we do it in 1969 with 1 million?
Yes, we did.
False.
You guys, you freaking Reisinger family. I don't understand y'all.
We're the same.
Man.
My only thing is very much like Alex. I think it would just be impossible to keep that many people quiet.
Yeah.
Somebody would know. Somebody would have slipped up along the way. That's my only. That's my only.
They did. That's why we're talking about it being a conspiracy. Somebody talked.
Dude, I can't wait to game, man. I'm so excited. It's so good to see y'all. Can't wait to see y'all later. We're gonna play this rock.
Can I read the intro?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Wrong part. Sorry. All right, man. We always like to start every podcast